Welcome to the Magnetically Aligned Woman. Walk into your power through self love, self worth, and authenticity. Today, I have Sandra Rodrigues-Bicknell, a best selling author, a book coach, and now publisher. Sandra was born in New York City to Colombian immigrants in 1992 at the age of 25, and after a successful modeling career, she married and moved to her husband's homeland, Jamaica, to start a family, build a successful jewelry business. And in 2017, after her divorce and her children were grown, Sandra moved to LA to write her best selling book, Cuts of a Diamond, her spiritual journey through love and heartache. It was then that Sandra decided to follow her heart and step into her purpose. She was being called to do something even bigger and support others like her, to empower agents of change and transformation, coaches, healers, and facilitators of all modalities to write their book, make an impact, and ultimately to create massive change in the lives of thousands. I'm so excited to have you, Sandra. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful to be here with you.
I'm so excited to just dive right in because we first made a connection right away. And what really caught my eye was just the way that you show up. Like the way that you show up. And also, like, I want to know a little bit more about, like, wow, what even led you to write Cuts of Diamond?
Okay, so I'm thrilled to talk about this because, and here is, I thought I'd bring it along, my book, Cuts of a Diamond. And what led me to write my book was just this desire to share my story. Um, I'd been wanting to write my book since I was the age of 25 when I first got to Jamaica. And I thought, I know I have an interesting story. I know I have something to share. And, even at that young age, because I still feel 25 is young, my daughter's 25, and I could see that, I could really see the youth inside of her. And, but still inside of me, I said, with the history of my family, leaving Cuba and migrating to the United States and seeing what that was like for them and growing up with that experience, it really impacted with, my journey growing up into adulthood. And I just thought, yeah, I need to share this. And it's funny because when I was writing my book and I was talking about everything I'd been through, it's my spiritual journey through love and heartache and everything in between. I really wanted to speak about all of my heartache, everything I'd been through. And a friend of mine asked me, why are you writing your book? Like, why? And I said, if I can help one person just get some clarity or give them the courage to share their story, then that's all I wanted. Um, the title came from my experience in the jewelry business. I had a jewelry business for 19 years. My godmother was a jeweler. My uncle was a jeweler. It was just always in my life growing up. So it's incredible how it's very similar. The cuts of a diamond is what makes her shine through the pressures of life and the pressures of our journey. So that's where the title came from.
I love that. It's like under the pressure, out comes the diamond, and then the
Yeah,
cut is what makes it truly shine. That's why they have like the different grades. Oh, I love that
exactly.
analogy. And you mentioned something really important because I find this like um, we go through difficult experiences and then we come out the other end with more wisdom. And you shared your journey through spirituality as heartbreak too, through the heartbreak, and that entered your spiritual journey. Can you share a little bit more about how that impacted you, what that even looked like for you as you were going through this process?
The you know through the heartache and into the light, basically. And for me, when every time or any time that I went through something difficult, still these days, anytime that something happens that is hard or something that we need to process, that's where the juicy, you know joy comes out, right? This is where we get to investigate and see, what's happened. We can't always think that we're going to go through something and, come out the other side and everything be okay. We, cry a few tears and then it's over. We have to see where it's resonating with us. Why is it hurting? Where is it that we need to heal? Because I feel that all of those experiences are meant to help us, kind of iron out those things that we either grew up with, the conditioning, I always say the unbecoming. That's where we shift those experiences and come out the other side you know, a little more enlightened, a little more compassion, also for whoever else is involved. I strongly believe that relationships and breakups are not only about what we're going to gain. Sometimes we're just in the space for someone else's growth. Sometimes it's just about sacrifice. I mean, most of the people that have come into our lives, including Jesus Christ, is here just, a sacrifice, a place where we're meant to learn through their pain.
Was your heartache tied to like your previous marriage, or was this more tied to the upbringing of your childhood? Can you share a little bit more specifics with us?
Sure, sure, sure. It was a combination. So growing up, my mom had a lot going on. There were so many different things. So I didn't feel that I was heard, that I was seen. And so that kind of created heartache for me because, you're aware. People think that children don't notice and don't see things, but you're aware of that. And I feel that that is something that was the thing that through my relationships um, kind of struck me. Those were the trigger points. And so again, being in relationships, yes, it was difficult. My marriage not you know not continuing. The end of a marriage is difficult, and especially when you start a marriage at especially a young age where you think, oh, everything is perfect and everything looks great. This is not supposed to end. And when you start seeing the things that there's no change, there's not, things are not going to grow or things are not going to improve, you have to start making those decisions. And that was the heartbreaking part for me. I had two small children and we just got married so fast. We met within 8 months, we were married,
Wow.
walking down the aisle with 600 people at my wedding in a different country. And it was just a whirlwind. It was beautiful. It was one of the most magical experiences of my life, but it was too soon. It was too much, too many different circumstances that kind of were against us. And it was really, really difficult to find myself in a foreign country at the age of 30, having to make this decision of just the relationship and the marriage having to come to an end. And then after that, I had other relationships. I had a 10-year relationship. There was infidelity. There was, lies. There were things that I didn't know through the whole relationship that was just mind blowing. And that was heartbreaking. Then I was in another relationship with a narcissist. And that was, but again, all of those, I could think of it about all of it. And I could see how every single one of those experiences really, really helped me grow into the woman that I am.
Thank you for sharing that. That is powerful because through our relationships is where we kind of learn how to interact with the world. And I've been studying something recently that said, as children, we are conditioned from the age of 0 to 21. And so the way that our conditioning is expressed is through our relationships with other people in the future. And so if we have like certain relationships and we see these cycles happening over and over again, it's kind of a mirror to say like, hey, maybe it's time for you to take a step back and see where in your childhood are you lacking, or were you missing that sense of like deep intimate connection or being heard or being understood, and where are you putting yourself second and allowing your partner to kind of be that parental figure for you to keep you safe, to keep you in that position.
Absolutely. 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 It's all about the traumas that we don't even realize we're going through as children. And again, it's, people like, oh, because it was when I was a child, my parents did X, and it's they're, at the end of the day, they're doing the best they can. That was just your experience. And that's how you saw it from that young age. And yes, it stays with you. It really, really does. And it really has so much, like you were saying, to do with the partners that we choose and the patterns that we tend to repeat time and time again, unless you take that step back. And that's what I did after my last relationship. I stopped and I took a step back, and I really started to do, my journey of introspection and learning and understanding really myself and why. It was a puzzle. I talk about in my book. I was a puzzle that I needed to solve, and I needed to understand why these things were coming up. And once you pick at them and you would analyze them and you heal, um, and sometimes we don't heal. Sometimes we heal a little bit, and we have to go back and kind of, trim it a little lower and love it a little more, and it'll always be there because, we're human, and they're ingrained. It becomes part of our DNA. And the greatest gift of all is the awareness of it. And once we have that awareness, we're able to make the best of it.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm tingling. Awareness is the biggest,
Oh,
because it's like if you don't know what you can't see or what you're not aware of.
exactly.
And so how do
Exactly.
you expect yourself to change? So one of the biggest things was for me, especially because I found myself like in this 4-year friendship, and it was always the same thing. It was kind of like where they leave and then they come back, and then they leave and then they come back. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't understand what's happening, right? Like this, even in friendships and parents, oh my God, my relationships with my parents. And I start to realize I always accept people back into my space. But as
Mhm.
I accept people back into my space, I always put myself second. And in the end, I give so much and then I get hurt. And then I realize this, and then that's when I start to realize after like maybe the fifth or sixth time, I'm like, oh, like where in my
Mhm.
life have I let that happen? Because it's not only in your relationship, but it happens in so many other places in your
Everything.
life as well. So, for example,
Absolutely.
coworkers at work, it could be like just interaction with strangers, like wanting to give so much to strangers. And for me, it was self worth. It was like I had to be more to feel worthy, or I had to do something to be
Abs-
loved.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Even as you're speaking, you think about what the patterns are, you know, whether a man comes into your life and he's in for a little while and but he's not fully in, and then he leaves, and then boy, that's happening again, and that's happening again. And it's where are we participating in this behavior? And it's all energy, because we're all energy. I mean, down to our meeting, souls call on each other, energy calls on each other, and attracts each other. And if that's the energy that we're holding and carrying around, then that's what's going to happen, because we're believing that that is just how much we're worthy of,
Wow.
and that is what we attract what we hold. I strongly believe in that.
I do too. And you mentioned something that was like so powerful, was sharing your story allowed you to heal. Can you go a little bit more into that and like how
Of
that,
course.
how that all ties together?
Absolutely. So for me, I again I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to share my story. I wanted to talk about it. And as soon as I wrote my book, everything just changed. Everything changed. I wrote about my perspective, especially around these relationships, around these hurts, around these cuts in my life. And I realized that the more I spoke about it, the more I shared it, the more people resonated with it, the more I realized that I had unleashed and opened the channels, my vocal cords. Um, and then recently I started thinking about how, children are told, shh, even babies, if they're crying, immediately, shh, shh, shh. They go to school and wait your turn. And we're in relationships and our partners are telling, shh, don't, you know, and all of that keeps us quiet and keeps us holding, don't speak more than you need to. Children are seen, not heard. So many different things. And I'm realizing now that once you speak, you step into your truth, you stand in your truth, you write it, you share it, um, you own it, everything changes. And from that, it led me to being a book coach, led me to being a writing mentor. It led me to supporting under others through their journey, because I know that once you put it down, once you own it, once you write about it, then the heavens open, and you're able to really find yourself and where you belong in the world and what your purpose is.
Wow, beautiful.
Mm. Thank you.
Beautiful. How, can you share how that relates to alignment? Because like this whole show is centered around being aligned with yourself, with your life, with your career. Can you share how that relates to alignment in your life?
Absolutely. Just as I was saying, once you stand in your truth, once you come to terms with, this is what life has been like for me, these are the choices that I've made, this is who I am, and this is the road I'm now taking, now that I own, where I am, things start to fall into place, and you are in alignment, and it's almost like you engage in a space, and momentum begins, and that's it, and that is almost autopilot, because you actually are on your journey, you become aligned with your truth, and again, where you are is what you call in, and things start to come up, whether it be in your mind, you're like, oh, I have this great idea, I've just launched my publishing house, and it's so fully aligned, and it is because once you are aligned, once you get into that space where you're not you know balancing, and you're not, I kind of want to do this or I want to do that, once you're there, once you make up your mind, once you trust yourself, then it's everything is possible.
There's something so powerful that the word I love is trust, like trusting in yourself. And I know so many people have self-doubts, and this comes from, childhood conditioning, being told you're not good enough, or feeling like you're not good enough because we didn't get the love, the attention, in our
Yeah.
childhood to feel safe, to trust our own intuition. Can you share a little bit more about like how people can build more trust within themselves, how people can start sharing their message, even in that place of fear, like what would people think of me,
Right.
um, like
Yeah.
place of judgment.
Right. Right. And it's this thing that's just, it's really hard, it really is hard, but you said it, the word trust. When you trust, when you are clear, you don't waver, you don't wonder, you've made up a decision, you've made a choice to stand in this space. If you are there, if you're truly there and you allow yourself to be there and not waver, just like the power of oh gosh, knowing that you want to manifest something, and you have it in your mind and you see it clearly, and you focus where you want to go, where you want to reach. If you stay there and you trust in yourself, then it will all be okay, it will happen, but you cannot waver. That's the only thing that I've noticed. As soon as I start giving into the ego, right, because the ego is just this little voice inside that wants to keep us small, because if we stay small, then we have company, you know oh, I don't want to go there, I don't want to do that, this is more comfortable, maybe I'll just stick to being, you know this, keep my 9 to 5 job, because I can't step into that thing I really want to do. All of that is what keeps us from venturing out into being great, and great in our own power. So my suggestion is, as soon as you start hearing those little doubts, those messages of no, 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 don't do that, or you're not good enough, or all of that, remember that is just the ego. That is just fear. And you just say, okay, I hear you, bye, and stay on course and keep going one step after the other. One step. Sometimes we fall off. Sometimes we get, you know, confused and insecure and we start comparing, especially with social media. But always remember deep into your heart, write a letter to yourself, write a letter to your future self. I have a workshop that is just so wonderful, and it is a letter to your soul client. I do a letter to your future self. I do several different workshops, but getting clear on this connection that you want to make and having that written and where you can actually read it over and over again and really, really connect with that and remind yourself, because they're your words, remind yourself of how wonderful you are and where you're headed. To make such a difference in so many lives.
Wow. Okay, I have a personal question for you because I'm the type of person
Mhm.
that's like so all over the place. Like I'm like, I like this, I like that. Like I can be anything, right? And I feel like all of those distractions, so like all of those things take me from like here to here to here to here. And so when you say like find that thing that you align with, and it took me so long to get there. Can you share how like how someone who's excited about so many different things can find alignment in their life? Because that really was the most difficult thing for me personally, was like I could be this and I could be
Mhm.
that and I
Oh,
could be
yes.
this, and then
Yes.
not being able to focus on one single thing. I ended up falling in like off the bandwagon way too many times, and I got so
Right.
discouraged. So if someone's on the same path as I am, like they just don't know, they don't know where to start. Like what would be your suggestion?
My suggestion always is to pick that one thing, the one thing, because I have a jewelry business. I've done interior design for years. I'm a book coach. I'm a writing mentor. I'm a mom. So you have all these identities, all these things that we do. But we have to choose one, the one thing that we feel really connected to, right? The one thing that if we didn't, couldn't, if money didn't matter, right? Whether we made money from it or did make money from it. If money was not an issue, what would we be doing? And for me is helping others share their voice. Like I know in my heart, this would not have happened. This would not have happened if I wasn't clear on my just no, negotiations. I want to help others share their book and share their story. So really, really look in. It's a lot of investigation, but choose the one thing and stick to that. And try to put those other things aside for a little while, you know, and go with it and go with it. But it again, it's very confusing. And I had this program and then I had this other program. I was like, no, 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 no. You'll never be able to move forward unless we choose this one thing.
Wow, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then before like we end, I have one last question. So what are your top three tips um, in your life and in your business to help you stay aligned every single day?
So for me, and every single day is very, very hard because sometimes we just can't. Sometimes things happen and you're like, oh my goodness. But and we spoke about it briefly before we started, you know, it's how we move, how we react, how we treat the circumstances that come up in our lives is how it will respond. And for me, it's just finding that calm and finding that, order and keeping yourself accountable for the things that you're doing and make yourself lists and do your best and be kind to yourself. I think those are the most important things to do is just really be a little more selfish. Because when you're good, when you're okay, when you're aligned, when you are taking care of you first, whatever it is, if it's have your cup of coffee first or do your yoga first, even if it's 2 poses, whatever it is, put yourself first. Even as a mom, very hard for me. I'm in LA staying with my daughter, and it's her place. And so I kind of tippy toe around, and it's like I have to find a way to start my day with me first. And just standing in caring for you first, that sets the tone for your day. It really does. And I find that it's just very important to just be very aware of yourself. Just very aware of yourself.
Do you have like a certain practice when you feel like, oh, I'm not putting myself first? Like, do you have a go-to?
I do. I have my towel hands, and I do a blessing. And it's very quick and very quiet, but it really is just being quiet, really being quiet. It's a meditation at its best. People think that you have to sit down and, cross your knees and light a candle and, turn on and put on some incense and make sure there's no noise, and then I can get into a meditation. And it's not necessarily so. You can find quiet in 5 minutes. And that's what I find is the best thing for me, is really to just find that quiet, find that peace, set an intention for your day, and just give yourself that little time of just quiet. Focus on, a part of your body. Focus on relaxing from head to toe. I start all my workshops with meditation, because
Oh,
with that, you get really, really, really quiet. And what comes from there is magic. Sometimes I'm in a meditation and things are coming up, and I'm like, let me hold on a minute, write that down. Because things start coming up for you and ideas, and it's just magic when you find quiet. It's wonderful.
oh my goodness. Wow.
Mm.
I can relate to that because it's like when you calm the chaos, like when you calm the inside, then everything around you just kind of like it doesn't bother you. It's not
Yes,
your concern.
yes, it's true. And it's something it doesn't come easy. But as soon as you're able to connect with that, even if it's just once, you're able to go back to it,
Mm.
and you're able to have that sensation. But you have to bring yourself to that sensation so you could tap back into it again and again, and maybe do it longer and longer. But I find that it's just so healing, and so just it really helps us expand if we just again think of ourselves and the what we need.
I love that. And usually following what you need is what allows everything else that you want to come to you.
Absolutely, again, about the energy.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I know
Mhm.
you have something special for the audience who's watching today. Can you share that with us?
Yes, absolutely. So I have my meditation. It's my signature meditation. It is just a letter to your soul client. It's your soul reader, the person that will connect with you directly and open your writing channel. And it's a beautiful workshop that I have given as a gift. And you'll be able to go through the entire journey. Again, it starts with a meditation. I give you some prompts, and you're able to just really experience the flow of writing that will come from just being still and connecting to self.
Thank you so much, Sandra,
I'm
for
so
your
excited.
generosity and for being here.
Mm.
You are
Thank you
absolutely
so much for having me. Mm, I
for
love
the
it.
audience that's watching. Can you share where they can find you?
Yes. So my website is cutsofadiamond.com. You can come to my website in social media. It's on Facebook and Instagram. It's Sandra Rodrigues-Bicknell, which is my full name. And my book at Cuts of a Diamond is available on Amazon and all major bookstores.
Fabulous. And everybody that's watching, um, We are so excited to have you here today. We cannot wait to see you guys on the next episode of Magnetically Aligned Women. I will link Sandra's freebie in the description below so that you all have access. And yes, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. Sending so much love.
Yes.